Hi, everybody, and welcome to this first ever Las Virgenes Unified School District Board of Education virtual candidates forum. It is a first indeed. My name is John Losing. I'm managing editor of the 5 Acorn newspapers and very pleased to present our program tonight in conjunction with the city of Calabasas and a very fine CTV channel. Many thanks to Michael Russo and Arvin Petros from the city for backing us on this. We think we've got a good program tonight. Thanks to you folks at home and to our technical crew. I did not want to be the person behind the controls for this Zoom session, pushing the buttons, sharing the screen, controlling the gallery view, all that techie stuff that goes along with this new Zoom world we're in. But we think we're in good hands with the city, and Arvin and Tony are the men behind the camera tonight. So thank you guys. All that being said, virtual is not perfect. You know, there might be a few hiccups, Wi-Fi along the way, but we think we are in good shape, and we figure about an hour and a half tonight, if that's okay with everybody. Our candidates are Kiyomi Kowalski, Linda Menges, and Catherine, you can call me Kate Videra. I should mention there are 2 seats up for election, 3 candidates. Oh, I forgot also a quick shout out to Gore Hill City Council member and former school board member, Debbie Klein Lopez. Debbie, the one who really planted the seed for this forum and inspired me to get it off the ground. So thank you, Debbie, if you're out there in digital land somewhere. We think this is going to be a good service to the community. At this time, let me introduce our special guest on hand for a comment before we begin. Leslie Stein is the current president of the Lvusd Board of Trustees, and she is serving her 3rd term on the board, has helped see the district through one of its toughest times ever. And I think that goes without saying. She was the top vote getter in the 2018 election, respected by many, and she'll be watching with great interest tonight, I'm sure. So Leslie, hello, thanks for dropping in. And can you say a few words to our audience?
Thank you, John, so much for that introduction. Welcome, everybody, to the LVUSD School Board Candidate Forum. Thank you to the City of Calabasas, John Losing, the Acorn, for hosting this really important event tonight. We appreciate everyone for watching, and thank you for your interest and engagement in local elections. School boards serve an important function as the trustees bring the values of the community they serve to their local school districts, to education. We have 3 candidates vying for 2 seats. Your voice matters, and you have 2 votes. This is a historic election. We're voting during a pandemic. So California, in my humble opinion, was very smart and mailed everyone a ballot. Clearly, I haven't filled mine out yet. So everybody at home should have received a ballot. You can drop them off. There's ballot boxes in the city of Calabasas, city of Gore Hill, city of Westlake Village. You can vote on November 3rd, but you can vote up until November 3rd. So enjoy this evening. You'll learn a lot, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Leslie, and thank you for your service to the school community. Let me introduce my co-moderator for the evening. Stephanie Bertholdos is a local resident, and she spent almost 20 years covering the Las Virgenes School District for the Acorn before her retirement last year. I called her out of retirement for this event tonight because few people know and understand school issues like Stephanie Bertholdo. Stephanie, hi again and welcome. Go ahead.
Well, hello, everybody. I was really happy that John called me to participate because education, covering the school board, was always my favorite part of my job. So I'm very happy.
Thanks, Stephanie. All right, let's get down to business and go over a few ground rules for the evening. All candidates have 2 minutes for their opening statement and 1 minute for a closing statement. The opening and closing statements and question number 1 will be presented in candidates' alphabetical order. And so each subsequent question by Stephanie and me will begin with a different candidate going first, and that way everybody has a chance to be hit with the question first. So we're just trying to keep it fair as possible, and I think this format works. The answers, of course, are 2 minutes. And I should mention if perhaps one candidate is mentioned by name by another candidate, I don't want to use the word called out, but if you mention another candidate, we do want to give that candidate mentioned the opportunity for a 1 minute rebuttal. And so we will provide that opportunity if you are mentioned. Candidates, there is a 2 minute timer at the top of the screen. We'll see that in a minute, so please keep an eye on it. and it will switch to 1 minute for the closing comments. Finally, before we begin, a big thank you to you, the candidates, for stepping up and for your service, your willingness to serve the education community. Your enthusiasm really is greatly appreciated. So with that, here we go. Here's Stephanie to introduce our candidates and their opening statements. Stephanie?
Okay, we're going to introduce you in alphabetical order. So Kiyomi Kowalski, she is an attorney and a longtime volunteer for LVUSD schools. And then there is Linda Menges, who is the incumbent school board member, and she was elected in 2015, and she is a retired banker. And then Kate Vadera is a pediatrician, and she has also been involved in school and PFC activities at all of the schools, all levels of schools.
All right, Kiyomi, you're first. Go ahead, Kiyomi.
Great. Good evening, everyone. My name is Kiyomi Kowalski. I'm a mom, a Marine, and an advocate. I'm the mother of 2 LVUSD students. One is an 8th grader at AE Wright, and the other is a 5-year-old who just started his kindergarten journey at Round Meadow Elementary. I'm a Marine Corps veteran, and I'm a legal advocate for system-involved youth and families. I've been a volunteer in various positions in our school, local schools and school district. My whole life has really been about service. I serve on the Curriculum Council. I serve as the PFC secretary at AE Wright. I have also served our schools on the Measure V Bond Committee and in School Site Council. I am also a local leader in our Jewish community. I serve on the Board of Jewish Education at Valley Outreach Synagogue, where I created the Anti-Racism Task Force, where we put on workshops and discussions about race and racism. I'm running for a position on the Las Virgenes School Board because I strongly believe that every LVUSD student deserves an excellent education, no matter their race, religion, gender, sexual orientation, country of origin, mental or physical ability, or socioeconomic status. And it's clear that our community can't provide this without diverse representation on the board. I will focus on 3 key things when elected: relearning education, community inclusion, and fiscal accountability. When we relearn education, we must ensure that no student is left behind during the distance learning. And I want to make sure that they remain connected to campus and community. Community inclusion means that every child should be able to see themselves in their teachers, administrators, and curriculum. And also fiscal accountability, ensuring that we meet budget shortfalls without compromising our educational goals. And you'll hear more about my mission tonight. Thank you.
Linda, you're up.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Linda Menges, and thank you so much for hosting this. 5 years ago, I ran because I love this district. It is a destination district, and I want to keep it that way. Our students need it, and our property values depend on it. That love of this district is the underlying factor for all of my goals. I'm running because we are living in unprecedented times, and the board needs proven, consistent leadership now more than ever. Most recently, my focus has been student achievement, fiscal responsibility, and student health and safety. I want to work with all stakeholders to find safe ways to return to school. I'm interested in supporting our teachers, students, and families in this difficult distance learning time. We know how challenging it is to be in a distance learning environment, and consistent leadership will be a help to keep us moving forward. I'm interested in providing options and opportunities for success for pre-K through 12th grade. I was part of the board that established the Early College Academy, which is designed for first-generation students to allow them to earn up to 2 years of college credit before they graduate from high school. I was a part of the establishment of the shop in the center at our high schools, and it's for school-averse students and students who need credit recovery or don't fit into a traditional classroom setting. I have been an advocate for intervention specialists to make sure our 3rd grade students are proficient readers before they move on in their curriculum. And I agree with Kiyomi. You will be learning more about my platform as the evening progresses. And thank you for having us here.
Kate.
Good evening, and it's great to be here. Thank you to the Acorn and the City of Calabasas for having us. As a pediatrician with 14 years of parent leadership in our LVUSD schools, I understand the complexities of child development and our public education system. From my career in academic medicine at USC to my volunteer work at our schools, I've dedicated my life to ensuring the health, safety, and education of all children. I was selected as a chief resident of pediatrics and then faculty at USC due to my excellent clinical skills, my work ethic, and my ability to lead and train a team of physicians and medical students. When my children entered LVUSD, I became an advocate for our schools and our students here. I've been involved at every level of the PFCs, including 5 years as a PFC president, and I've served on many district committees. I've learned the strengths and weaknesses of our schools, what changes need to be made, and how to implement those changes. As your school board members, my priority will be, number one, health and safety. I will bring a pediatrician's perspective to help the district and our families navigate the COVID crisis. I'll make sure we use the best science and data to manage when and how we reopen schools and keep our students and teachers safe. This is our biggest challenge. My second priority is to recover and rebuild district finances. We must ensure the district has the necessary resources to provide the highest quality education for our children. Our schools are currently facing a $4 million deficit, and I understand how we are funded and where we are lacking those funds. I will ask tough questions, ensure efficient use of funds, and strengthen our education foundation and community partnerships. My third priority is to ensure an inclusive educational environment for every child at every grade level, and regardless of race, gender, learning ability, or learning style. There's never been a more important time to have a pediatrician on the school board than now. I have the medical expertise, the proven leadership, and tenacity to provide the stability and make progress through this difficult time. We'll need to be brave, bold, and work together to face the complex challenges facing education today. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Kate. Thank you, candidates. Let's get underway now with our questions. The order for this first round will be Kiyomi Kowalski, Linda Menges, and Kate Videra. And so, Kiyomi, let's start with you for this question number one. Current Las Virgenes school board members and administrators have expressed a bit of frustration over how Los Angeles County is handling the reopening plan. And many schools are being reviewed for waiver reopenings, and which ones are given priority and how many are being reviewed. And LA County Public Health announced, I think it was last week, that they're reviewing only 30 schools per week, giving priority to requests coming from lower income, free and reduced lunch program districts. So with that prelude regarding COVID, what is your opinion on how the county is handling the schools reopening? And in part two, what would you do, or what would you like to see LVUSD do in terms of reopening schools? Kiyomi?
Great. Look, I think the county's being very cautious. I think initially we closed down in a very cautious way. But when we reopened, we had quite a few missteps and quite a few areas where we've been increasing our numbers over time. Look, it's a pandemic. It happens every 100 years. We pulled the short straw on this bad boy, but now we've got to, be really smart about reopening. So when LA first reopened, we then ended up closing yet again. And I think the same thing applies with our schools. Like, we have to make sure that it is safe for not only our kids, not only our teachers, but also our greater community. We have a community of people that we really have to consider. So I like proceeding with caution. We all know that the best place for our kids is actually in schools, and we should be looking forward to doing that when it's safe. I will say I am quite impressed with what the current board has done already with regard to safety. I think we have some really great plans in place with cleaning and the A and B, A and PM model for our kids to return in person, makes small cohorts. I also think what was great is that we have an option. My kids are in the virtual academy where some people are slated to go back to school as soon as it's safe. I think providing those two tracks is a great idea. And I think we're well on our way to a safe return to schools when LA County feels it's safe, but we have to abide by the law and public safety.
Thank you, Kiyomi. Linda, your opinion on how the county's handling the reopening, and when would you like to see LVUSD get back to class?
I agree that that the county has been very, very cautious, and it's been very frustrating. Our district has invested over $1 million in PPE and other safety equipment so that it will be safe for our schools to reopen. We have developed a virtual academy for those families that feel like even when the numbers are there and they don't want their students back on campus, they want them to continue to learn virtually. And then we have the on-campus model where we have cohorts set up where there's an AM and a PM model so that the students are seeing every day. Students learn best in the classroom. We have been working very hard with Supervisor Kuehl, trying to get her to loosen some of the standards so that we can have our security looked at to make sure that we have all of the procedures in place so that when the numbers are there and we are so close to having the right numbers, we can open our schools. And we've already been able to open up to almost 200 students that have IEPs and across all of our campuses, and that has been going really well. So I know students learn better at school, and teachers have been trained to teach in person with their students, and there's just Zoom fatigue and parent frustration trying to get their students logged in and logged out and keeping up with their distance learning. So I'm hopeful that the numbers will be there and we will get approval by the county to open.
Thank you, Linda. And the question to you, Catherine.
So this is, it's a massive problem, right? We are part of the massive Los Angeles County. And even though our numbers here locally are good, we still have to participate with the county. And, it's a novel virus. We don't have all the information. It's been super confusing for families, parents, teachers, because the data is constantly changing. And I think that's where I will be of help, okay? Because I'm actually the person who can help interpret the data. I've worked in ICUs, I've taught doctors, cared for the sickest kids in LA County. My colleagues at USC say that this is something to, have a healthy fear of, okay? So if we're worried about going back to school, there's a reason. But I think that, they're being very cautious. They're taking the most at-risk kids who need to get back in class first. It's super frustrating for us because this is long and hard. I think the district has done a tremendous job in preparing our schools to get our kids back in school. If you watch the webinar that's on their website, as I did, it's very impressive. Like, it passes my tough standards. And so I think that is really good news. I think that once things stabilize a little bit, then we'll be in better shape to get kids back in. It's a very safe plan. And I think this is one of the ways that I'll be able to help is to kind of bridge those gaps between all of the stakeholders, okay? Because I am so cautious and conservative. My kids went through distance learning, or they're going through distance learning as well right now in the college level, but my daughter missed her entire senior year. The spring, no prom, no graduation, didn't get to say goodbye to her friends. So this is a really hard time, and we really need to get them back as soon as we can.
Thank you,
Okay,
Kate.
the next question is going to go to Linda first. And the question is, what specific guidance would you offer as a school board member to help make sure the return to class is safe and successful? And most importantly, what is your position on requiring all kids to wear masks on campus of all ages? Linda.
So I think that we need to ensure that all of our families remain diligent and cautious. We were able to flatten the curve tremendously because we did lock down so tightly back in March. And I think that students wearing masks has not been the problem that they thought it would be. There was an article in Education Source this past week saying that students that have returned to campus in other states, it's the new norm for them. They understand that wearing a mask is important. We have students that are hard of hearing or English sign language lip readers, and we have other type of masks that our staff can wear so that they can teach those students. And it has a drape below it, and it has the plexiglass type visor in front of it, and we need to keep taking those measures to keep our students as safe as possible and stay in those cohorts. We have playground equipment that's not going to be shared with other classes, so that those students are using the same equipment that they are in class with their peers with. So, and that's all we can do until we understand, because it is a brand new virus and we're constantly getting confusing information about what is safest and what is best. And we just need to remain cautious and diligent.
Okay, Catherine, the same question to you. What specific guidance would you offer as a school board member for a return to class to make sure it's safe, and your position also on wearing masks?
So number one, we have to have county approval, and our numbers in the community have to be low, okay? Because if there's circulating virus out in the community, we know that that puts our teachers and our kids at risk, right? So we need to be sure that that is still low, and that the schools have a great reopening plan. And as long as those are being followed, I believe it will be very safe. I would want to go on campus and watch to see how it actually plays out, okay? I'm very proactive. I don't sit back. I would want to go and see, does this really work? Regarding masks, yes. So the question about that is the AAP, American Academy of Pediatrics, originally came out and said that kids in 2nd grade and under didn't need masks, okay? Which made no sense to me and a lot of other pediatricians. And they've since backtracked on that. So all kids can wear masks. But there'll be some, as long as they don't have any, respiratory problems or other breathing problems. But there's going to be those kids in class that are going to pull them down. They're going to touch them. They're busy. We know this about kids. If you spend any time in a classroom like I have, that's just what happens. So I think we need to be sure that we're, getting good reporting from our teachers, that we're making the mask wearing part of the, daily exercise, that, we make up some fun cartoons and songs about wearing your mask and keeping it on to encourage the kids, because that is the most important thing that we can do, as well as hand washing, hand sanitizing, all the cleaning that they're going to be doing in between the classes, and also the social distancing. Those are the things we have to keep doing to keep kids safe and our teachers safe.
Thank you, Catherine. Kiyomi, what kind of guidance would you offer to make sure the return to class is safe, and also your views on wearing masks?
I think that as a community, we must keep each other safe, right? So the fact is that we need to ask everyone in our community not to observe the social distancing standards and the mask wearing even off of our campuses. I think that that's going to be of critical importance, because what we do outside of our schools and outside of our cohorts is going to affect directly people within our cohorts. So I think we have to ask for that first. I also think, look, kids, it's tough. I have a 5-year-old myself, and him, wearing his mask, it's sliding, it's slipping off and doing the things. But I agree with Kate that we're going to have to make it fun and make it a part of what we do. This is how we keep each other safe. I wear a mask to keep you safe. You wear a mask to keep me safe. And as long as we're modeling that behavior with our kids, and as long as they are seeing it as something that everyone does, I think they'll be more apt to wear the masks regularly and be interested in contributing to keeping their classmates safe. Look, kids are kids, but I definitely think that we need to make sure that they all wear masks. It is clear that scientifically everyone must wear a mask to keep the next person safe. And it doesn't work when it's under your nose. So with that, I'll say.
Thank you, Kiyomi.
All right, let's move on to question number 3. And Kate, we'll start with you, number 1 this time. So, as far as COVID-19 is concerned, while we're on the topic, and if and when the county can reach that less restrictive red tier, do you think it's safe to reopen LVUSD schools for just K through 2 as the current waiver plan is calling for, or when the reopening happens for all grades, just K through 2 or for all grades? And let's start with Kate.
Okay, so whatever I say probably will change, right? Because that's the way this information is rolling, which is really unsettling for everyone. But in medicine, when something's new like this is how it is. So no one's really trying to pull a fast one over anyone. I personally agree with starting with a smaller group right now. We know that the older kids, 10 and over, act much like adults as far as their contagiousness, okay? And I know that's terrible for middle schoolers, okay? I don't know, my understanding is that the county will, when we reach that more, the red tier, that they will open it up wide, okay? So if that's what the decision is, that's what it will be. But I imagine we're gonna start, this county's taking it very slow. So I imagine they're going to go the TK through 2 first, just because they also have to contact trace everyone, right? If there is an outbreak or something. So they want to make it containable for them as well. It's terrible, but I think there's no 100% answer on this one.
Kiyomi, your opinion, is it safe to reopen LVUSD schools for just K through 2 or for all grades if that red tier is reached?
Look, I've seen it in work in private schools. My son was at TK in Elam Ramon. They're a very small campus. And as a private school, we can say, hey, you have to abide by our rules or you get kicked out of school. It's a different situation in a public school. We don't have that much control, although we would love that people keep the community safe and adhere to social distancing outside of the schools. That's not a control that we have as a public school. Look, I would say with this caveat, if they feel, if public health feels like it's safe to do that with all of our opening plans and all of the PPE that we purchased and all of the A and B models in place and things, I think in the smaller, the younger grades, it may be appropriate to open. In the later grades, we know based on what we've read is that, kids as young as 10 are considered adults and as far as spreading this disease. So we have to be really cautious. And I do think it would be smart for us to make sure that we are wearing a belt and suspenders on this thing, because we don't have as much control over this community, the public school community, as a smaller school that is private is, if that answers the question.
Thank you, Kiyomi. And Linda, your turn.
So I think that we should go slow. I think that TK through 2nd grade is appropriate. I think that contact tracing is a huge part of this, and we're still working out ways to keep track of the contact tracing. And the kids that are the younger the kid, the more they need parental supervision to get into the Zoom sessions or to get started with their classwork. And the middle school and high school level tend to be more independent workers and can navigate technology well on their own. And when you get into the secondary level, you've got a lot of switching of classes and stuff. And so contact tracing gets way more difficult. So I think that if we start off, just like we started off with the IEP students, and that was only 200 students over all 14 of our campuses. And it'll be easier for us to tweak anything that we see as not running smoothly on our campuses, and start off with TK through 2nd grade, and then hopefully be able to move up to all the way through 5th grade in a short time period.
Thank you, candidates.
Okay, we're going to expand on that question with the next question, and we're going to start with you, Kiyomi. Do you see the reopening safety measures for grades 3 through 12 as being the same as the reopening measures that will be in the K2 waiver program? And what are the differences? Kiyomi.
I think that that it will be the same, except that we're going to do it in waves. I think when you put more people in a space, you're going to get more chances for transmission. So we try the K through 2 and use the models that we've got in place, the AB model. And then once we see that we've got that well contained and that the Los Angeles County feels that it's safe to go back, then it makes sense to try the next grade levels. I am a JD, not an MD. So as much as I'd like to predict what is the best manner of opening, I think that, we'll do it as safety permits.
Okay, Linda, the same question for you. Do you see the reopening safety measures for 3 through 12 as being the same for the K2 waiver program? And what do you think the differences are?
I think that the county has proven that they are constantly changing. And we thought when we left in March that we were going to be gone for 2 or 3 weeks. And then we thought we were going to open up schools in July. And then we thought we were going to open up schools to start the school year. And all those things just kept changing. And there were district employees that felt like they were having whiplash because things were changing so fast. And I'd be sitting in a negotiation committee and we'd be reading the news briefs as they came in and saying, oh, this is what we're going to do next. So I think for 3rd grade through 5th, it could be very similar to TK through 2. And then it's got to be different on the middle school and high school level, just because they've got, they switch classes and there are greater numbers of students and classes are larger. And they've got 6 periods a day for the most part for all of them, as opposed to 1 contained classroom at the elementary level. So I think that there would need to be some differences there.
Okay, thank you very much. Kate, how about you? What do you see?
So the plan is, it is different because as they were, middle school classes and high school classes function differently. But the school reopening plan takes that into account. Okay, so they won't be changing classes. You come for the morning and you leave. You don't stay and hang out like at Calabasas High. Usually in a typical lunch day, everyone is clustered together, okay, like stacked up. That's not going to happen. You have your classes in the morning and then you leave. There's no lunch and then everything is disinfected and then the afternoon group comes in. It's not ideal. It's not business as usual. And it's probably not going to be business as usual for a while, but it is safe. Okay. And those kids do need to get back in class just as much as anyone else. I think it's about balancing the risk and the benefit. Okay. Because there is no 100% guarantee. I have friends in New York City, right? When some of the numbers are going up there, they had to close schools there. So it is about the community being super respectful about this so that our numbers do stay low and being super honest about it so we don't have any problems in the classrooms. So short answer, it's a great opening plan and it takes into account all those things, social distancing, mixing of kids. They're not going to use hallways anymore. They're only going to use classrooms that open to the outside so kids don't pass in the hallways. If you've ever been back to school night, there's all that mixing and mingling. They're going to use the library where they can spread people out, or like the multi-purpose room so that kids aren't close together. Those are all the things that they're taking advantage of. They have tables that they're going to have outside. They've purchased umbrellas that can tilt so they can have classes outside as well and take advantage of that. So lots of really great things that make it very safe to go back.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you, candidates. Let's move on now. So we've got the students back on campus, but yet remote learning doesn't go away. So when kids eventually do come back to campus, it will be an option still for some families talking about remote learning. What's your assessment, candidates, of the district's implementation of remote learning so far? And what do you think can be done, if anything, to improve the remote learning piece? And we'll start with you, Linda Menges.
So we have had tremendous professional development with our teachers to help them. They've got Bitmoji classrooms. They've got platforms for technology. They've got a centralized communication system. It's all about communication. We have to keep the lines of communication open with teachers, parents, and students. And it's a community effort to keep everybody working together and moving forward so that we don't have learning loss for our students. And if something isn't working for a parent or a student, if they communicate that with their teacher, and the teacher, or if the teacher has an issue with a student not coming into a Zoom session, or where they can communicate with the parents, it's a community effort more than it has ever been in education. And I think that there's synchronous and asynchronous learning going on, and some students thrive in this atmosphere, and other students just really hate the distance learning and much prefer the in-classroom setting. But it's just all of those little things that will help keep the learning vital and relevant.
Okay, to you, your assessment of the district's implementation of remote learning so far, and what do you think can be done, if anything, to improve it?
So I think that the district has done a great job with remote learning. They have, as Linda said, a lot of professional development. Some teachers are better at it than other teachers. I think it's more difficult with younger kids, obviously. I think it has its limits. That's the bottom line. We know kids learn better in person. We like to be with people. You can connect better. You can see the students all at the same time. You can check in. Are they paying attention? Are they actually learning the material? It's much more difficult. And that is an obstacle that is very difficult to overcome. I think that kids who aren't going to class, or aren't paying attention, or aren't finding or learning the information for various reasons, I think they're going to have it's going to be more difficult for them right now. And it's going to be harder to catch those kids. And I think we have to agree that there is going to be a loss of learning in this time. And it's not just us, it's everyone that's stuck in this phase. And I think teachers need more time and more staff development to get to promote or to learn remote learning. And I think that will be helpful, but I think our goal should be to get them back to the classroom as soon as we can.
Thank you, Kate. And the question to you, Kiyomi, about remote learning, happy with it? How can it be improved? What are your comments?
Yeah, I'm the only parent actually going through this right now who's running. I've got the 5-year-old who is a kindergartner. So he is just starting his first year of real life instruction, but it's on the Zoom. And I had the 8th grader going through it in the spring. And, it was tough. We were all trying to pull it together. And since then, what I've noticed in the fall is that the teachers feel more acclimated, but some teachers are dynamic in this forum, and others are less dynamic. Fortunately, this is something that can be taught. So I want to make sure that we are giving the teachers the support that they need to be the best in this forum. There's a particular teacher that I love to talk about because she's just awesome, Lauren Walsh, and she's the language and literacy coach at the district. And we watch recorded videos of her, and my son feels like he's watching Sesame Street every morning. And he's engaging and singing with her and doing all the movements and things. And she has the ability, even through a recording, not even live, to reach through that screen and capture his attention. And I would love to see our teachers supported to be that dynamic of a professional online. Look, we're stuck in this space for a little bit here, at least. And I think that there are some people who are naturals and some people who are not. But all in all, I see that the planning is different now than it was in the spring. And as the weeks go by, our teachers get better and better at it. So I'm looking forward to next week.
Thank you, Kiyomi.
Okay, now we're going to talk a little bit about finances. The school district is facing tremendous financial pressures in the months ahead. And not only did Measure V, the school bond, suffer defeat earlier this year, but large unexpected expenses are coming due, no thanks to the pandemic. LVUSD has just spent 1.5 million on back to school safety measures. If forced to make cuts to the current budget, where would you start and why? We're going to start with you, Kate.
So this is the most daunting part of this. For me, it's my number 2 priority because we have to get, facing this COVID pandemic and finances, because we can have all the cabinet and our school district has amazing ideas and amazing plans. And it has been devastating to us as a parent in the district when March came through and just seeing it all get, our knees taken out from us. We are looking at a $4 million deficit right now. We are already underfunded at, $3,500 less per student. Compared to LAUSD, we're in the bottom 15% of California schools with our funding. So I want to keep those cuts as far away from the classroom as possible, okay? And that is why I want to concentrate on increasing our funds and not cutting, okay? Because that's what I've always been about, is giving more and not less. We need to look at really improving, and I'm going to support our education foundation. I was part of that a while ago, and the district decided not to go with centralized funding. So I have a lot of background in that area as well. I think that could help us mitigate some of these challenges that we're facing financially, and we can work with our community that cares so much about our schools so that we can protect what we have in this district, because we want to still provide the best education possible for our kids.
Thank you, Kate. Kiyomi, you're going to be next. If forced to make cuts to the current budget, where would you start and why?
What is it? 85% of our budget is people power. So those are tougher to cut without cutting our teachers and our educators. I think we have to get creative. We have to leverage the community contacts that we have. We have a community full of professionals, and we have Amgen close. We have all kinds of really great organizations that are close that we can bring into our schools without raising the budget. We have things online now that we've noticed that now that we've realized that we can utilize this as a mitigator to access technology. We need to be bringing in things that will not raise the budget, such as like a sales force that can teach our kids skills without raising the budget. We've just got to get really creative in this time. And as far as cuts goes, look, I want to make sure that when we do make the necessary cuts, because there's no way really around it, that we do it so that we are not impacting disproportionately the people who need our support the most, our English language learners, our students who are on free and reduced lunch. I think what we need is a person on this board who is going to make sure that when we do make these cuts, that we are really looking at the disproportionate impacts to populations that need our help the most.
Thank you, Kiyomi. How about you, Linda? Where would you make cuts if you had to? Where would you start?
So Karen Kimmel, our Chief Business Officer, has done a tremendous job with her department trying to look at budget efficiencies. We're trying to streamline all of our purchasing. We have recently adopted curriculum across all grade levels. And so we won't be doing any major curriculum adoptions. We've got fairly new curriculum, and that would be a slight money saver for us. I think that we also need to work on community engagement with businesses in the community, centralized fundraising with the foundation so that we can keep our schools moving forward and not have to do tremendous budget cuts. We're a people industry, and all of our money and resources, most of our money and resources go to our staff, our classified and our certificated staff. And we won't be able to, one of the things that we could do is, as a result of this pandemic is, for example, PE specialists at the elementary level. We've been able to use YouTube type videos, and so that we can utilize one PE specialist across all of our elementary campuses, and they can do it via video, or we can have guest speakers come in, current authors, and they can do a seminar at one of the elementary schools and videotape it and share it with other elementary schools, and small little budget cuts like that. And unfortunately, with Measure V not passing, we aren't able to do the repairs to all of our schools that are simply aging. They're in 50 years old and need new plumbing and new air conditioning and new roofs. And those are the budget cuts we'll have to make.
Thank you very much, Linda.
Thanks, candidates. You know, for years, School of Choice has forced LVUSD to compete with surrounding districts for students, and many are attending other public school districts as we speak. Oak Park. So the question to you candidates is, and some even stick with homeschool and private schooling. So the question is, what can you do and what can the district do that it's not already doing to ensure that we can retain as many of our local students as possible and not let them go to other districts? And let's start with you, Kiyomi.
Yeah, this is a tough subject because you know, I went all masked and gloved to a lemonade stand yesterday in Agora Hills, and I met two parents who live in the area, and I was like, "Oh, where do your children go?" And they said, "Oh, they're in Oak Park, or they're in this other school district." And I asked them why, and it's for various reasons. It's part of its rigor, part of its, you know, for some parents, it's representation. I had to leave these conversations saying, I am on the ballot and I hope to win you back. Look, it's competitive out there, and we've got to do more. Look, I think that some of the things that we've done as far as making ourselves a destination school district or a school of choice with Mariposa being a Waldorf-inspired school, as well as the STEAM at Sumac. Those are things that will bring people in. But we, you know, from my perspective, I'm seeing that people are not feeling seen and heard on our campuses, and they are leaving our campuses as a result. And so we are going to need to do better with that. So we need to make sure that our children are able to see themselves in our curriculum. We're going to need to make sure that we are hiring outside of our typical hiring pools, because you know, people talk about private schools, but they are very intentional about their equity work and their inclusion work. And so since that's our competition, we've got to compete and we've got to do better.
Linda, to you, the migration away from Las Virgenes is palpable. What can the district do that it hasn't already done to keep as many of our kids local as possible?
We continue to offer opportunities for them. We offer the International Baccalaureate program at Agora High School. We offer the American Academy of Arts at Calabasas High School. There's an AP capstone program at Calabasas High School. We have the Waldorf-inspired Mariposa School. We have a dual immersion at Sumac where they're learning Spanish and English. And this year we had a serious drop in the kindergarten level, but that was, I think, parents choosing because of the pandemic to possibly keep their students in preschool one more year rather than start them off in kindergarten or distance learning. Or we also have a lot of parents doing homeschooling. And we briefly looked at offering a homeschooling in our district, but I think a lot of that is pandemic driven. And once the vaccine is found, we will regain those students. I think we have a great reputation. We have great music programs and fantastic teachers. And I think some of the students that we lose, it's other family reasons that they might go to another district, friend influences and things like that.
Thank you. And the question to you, Catherine, your opinion on that?
So both my husband and I are product of public education. Our kids are product of this school district, and we have a tremendous amount of pride in our schools. You know, I think people have choices in our community. They have the means to go to private school if they want to go to private school. And I think people who sometimes choose private school want to have more rigor and more APs, but we have really done a fantastic job, given all of our budget constraints, of offering a very competitive school, you know, a menu of courses. My daughter did the AP capstone with her friend. She said it was the best thing she ever did, getting her ready for college. So we offer a lot of great things. I think sometimes it's how we market it and making sure that people realize that we have these amazing programs, and we have an incredible arts and theater program, which everybody knows. And we have incredible music and incredible sports. And I think our numbers actually at the high school have been quite good, actually, and there's a lot of pride in that. But people do have choices that they can go other places, and we have to look at, you know, how do we fund these really important programs? And that is kind of there's no shortage of ideas in our district. We have to be able to fund them.
Thank you, candidates.
Mhm.
Okay, now we're going to talk about equity and diversity issues. And we're going to start with you, Linda. What criteria and approach should be used when choosing curricular materials relating to LGBTQ and race issues? And do you think Las Virgenes students currently stand on equal footing regardless of their sexual preference and color of their skin? Linda.
So equity has been an issue with us. We started looking at it last spring before it became so pronounced in the community. And we have recently adopted new, we were waiting for the next generation science standards to come out before we could adopt new science textbooks. And that is more inclusive in sexual diversity and gender specificity. And we are working with professional development with all of our teachers to try and make curriculum more inclusive. All of this great new curriculum that we've adopted, we're trying to make sure that there's a lens for students to see themselves in it, and to make sure that history isn't being taught just from one perspective, and that it's more inclusive and well-rounded for all of the students. And it's not going to be a sprint. It's going to be a long process, and we're working on it with Curriculum Council and training with our teachers and listening to our students, and having town hall meetings with our students to try and make sure that they feel like their voices are being heard.
Thank you. Kate, you're next. What do you think about equity and diversity issues in LVUSD? Do you think that the criterion approach should be used, a different approach? And do you think students are on equal footing?
Well, as a community, we want nothing more than to build inclusion and address the issue of racism and bias. As a pediatrician whose work has focused on caring for high-risk, underserved communities, I understand the importance of building relationships and understanding. Education has the ability to give our students faith in themselves and respect for each other, all that we need, right, to live in a mutually respectful community. And I have a 5-step program to improve education for the betterment of all. One will provide anti-bias education and training to all our school employees, giving them the tools to keep their classroom safe and productive. 2, will ensure that the curriculum is evaluated by community members, ensuring that no one is left out of the conversation. And 3, we will make roundtable discussions an integral part of the high school experience, giving students the opportunity to learn from each other. And 4, we will create a more robust freshman seminar course to engage students to learn about racism and prejudice and helping them build a better world. You know, we have made a lot of steps forward at the high school level with this. You know, I have multiracial kids and they've had comments made, you know, from elementary on, and they also have a great group of friends. So there's always going to be, you know, that balancing act, I think, of where we can always do better. And we've come to we're at a turning point where we can actually make those changes and incorporate them.
Thank you. How about you, Kiyomi? How do you feel about this issue?
Yeah. Oh, I have 2 minutes, right? So look, this is entirely my wheelhouse. In 2018, I ran on this, sensing this problem in the school district. Luckily, my campaign then kind of changed the tide towards inclusion in this community. And once I have a position on the board, we can change it that much more. I think when our community realizes that people are watching, we respond. We are asking children who face constant barrages of we are asking kids who face, you know, a constant barrage of aggressions and microaggressions to perform as well as the child who doesn't on our campuses. And it's unfair. All you need to do is follow Black at Calabasas to see that. We need to reimagine our curriculum. And that means we're starting in the Curriculum Council to reshape our community before we review our curriculum. I just got out of a meeting for Curriculum Council today on that. I'm excited about what that can entail. We need to also seek diverse teaching talent. Someone said that we were doing okay here, but we're not. And if we are doing okay according to Simi Valley, then we have to raise our standards. Also, we need to bring in anti-bias and anti-racist training to our teachers and help them and support them in using the most current and inclusive language. It's not just about race, it's about our LGBTQ plus students not hearing boys and girls every day. We have to use more inclusive language and support our teachers through this. There are so many things we need to do.
Thank you.
Kiyomi. This next question goes to you, Kate, first, and let's reference back to 2019, the fall of 2019. Oak Park District rolled out its new anti-bullying program that introduced students there, elementary age students, I should clarify, to issues of gender diversity and the idea that gender can sometimes be fluid and not all children conform to boy-girl norms. So the Oak Park approach received both praise and criticism. The question now is, would you support a similar anti-bullying program at LVUSD, and why or why not? And Kate, you're first.
Of course, I would support that type of curriculum and teaching. I think we need. I know that it is part of our curriculum now. I think we need to be sure that our teachers have professional development so that they're able to handle this as well, because it can be sensitive and each child comes into the classroom with a little bit different understanding. But our community is different now. We have, you know, different types of parenting. We have different, you know, we have couples that are same-sex couples, and we need to address these issues as well. We can't just have father-daughter dances anymore. It doesn't work. So yes, I would support that. I think that we need to start early, and here's why, and not to scare people, but because kids, when they are 3 years old, they understand what's fair and not fair, okay? And they see differences and they see sameness, and we need to take that time to build those building blocks, okay? You can't wait till they get to high school to start the discussion. It's too late. And in middle school, it's too late. And so if we start early, then it'll be easier for everyone, and less bullying for whatever reason, whether it's the color of your skin, your sexual orientation, you know, your learning ability, less of all of that. And so I know our teachers have done a lot of work with bullying, but if we can expand upon that, then that will be that much better.
And Kiyomi, the question to you, do you favor LVUSD stepping up its anti-bullying and gender diversity curriculum programming? What do you feel about that?
Yeah, without a doubt. You know, I have some friends who were in the Oak Park School District during all of the upheaval when they instituted this, the change about gender diversity. And I still have a sign in my yard that says, send your kids to school, against somebody who said, don't send your kids to school. Yes, we need to have anti-bullying and gender curriculum so that people will just understand that the world doesn't just look like a hetero cisgender white male all the time. Like that is life in the world, and that is what we're sending our children, hopefully, to be great global citizens in the world. And so it's going to be necessary that we support our kids earlier than in high school. In high school, I know that they have access to clubs that support them with their LGBTQ plus identity, but kids are starting to discover this about themselves in middle school. We need to make sure that we also are bringing clubs onto campus to support them in middle school, and perhaps even younger. But we need to make sure that our teachers have the right language to use, that where no child feels excluded, and talks about a world that looks differently than just Leave It to Beaver, because that's not life these days.
Linda, the question to you about gender diversity programming and diversity education. How do you feel?
So I think that it's important to educate the teachers on how to present it. We did develop community360.me, and that has addressed a lot of the issues about gender fluidity, about support for students, resources for parents. There's libraries on there, there's YouTube recommendations. We also have to deal with a lot of fear of change, and parents have concerns about, well, maybe my beliefs aren't what your teacher, your belief is, and I don't want you teaching my child something that I don't believe in. I think that's what we heard a lot from Oak Park about those that weren't in favor of that curriculum. And it's a matter of educating the community, and that we're just being inclusive of language and educating our students and trying not to give them a single lens to look at, and so that they can be more accepting. And it needs to start early, and because it needs to start at the elementary level, and students need to be able to talk to somebody, talk to a counselor, talk to their teacher, talk with their family about all of these different beliefs and any confusion that they might have. And that will prevent some bullying from happening on the campuses. It's more than just a week of anti-bullying or Red Ribbon Week like we have at the elementary level. It's constant education.
Okay, the next question is a two-parter, and we're going to start with you, Kiyomi. Besides attending the regular board meetings, what other plan do you have to hear and deal with parent and community concerns that are sure to come your way while in office? Also, how will you determine when it's not appropriate to take action on a parent or special interest group request?
Yeah, I think that's always the tough thing. I want to make myself accessible, as a community member, and really bring different voices to the board, because that's why we have 5 different seats for us to, each bring a different perspective to the table. But yeah, we move as a group. So there's a balancing act there that has to be done. I certainly plan on making myself accessible to our parents and community members, so that they can email me or call me if they'd like. That's one of the things that's great about campaigning is the accessibility that I have right now. But I'll be in a different role on the school board, and my role will be bringing what I learn from those parents that I hear from and those community members that I hear from, and bringing them to the table, and discussing what their perspectives are when we make policy, when we make decisions as it pertains to them. But we as a board have to move as a group. So I want to make sure that I'm always respectful of my limits as a board member, but also am always hearing my constituents. So with that, that's really where I will divide the line.
Okay, thank you. Linda, what about you? How do you plan on dealing with parents and community concerns while in office? And how would you determine when it's not appropriate to take action on a parent or special interest group request?
So you run as an individual for a school board seat, but then once you're elected, you become a part of the team. And I don't think that it's appropriate to take individual action once you're a member of the board as an individual with a parent group. I think it needs to be discussed depending on what the topic is, the subject is. It's if it's sensitive, it's probably discussed in a closed session. If it's not, it's discussed up on the dais so that we can vet out community concerns. I think being available in the community once the pandemic is over and going to community events and talking to parents, that's one of the things I miss the most about campaigning this time is all of the Reyes Adobe Days, the Fiesta Parade, the Calabasas Pumpkin Patch, all of that just isn't existing, and you miss those opportunities to meet with the community and find out how they're feeling, getting together over coffee and at a coffee venue, just all of those different things. And then also visiting the campus so that you can celebrate all of the things that the board has put into motion, or see if it's not working and how a new program might need to be tweaked. But it's all of those little pieces that go into being a good board member.
Thank you. How about you, Kate? How do you feel about it? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was waiting for my timer. I keep starting before. Apologies. So as a board member, I'd want to be sure that I visited all the school sites to get to know each school, to see how things are working. I'm a very proactive person, and that's how you get to know the individual schools and the individual needs, meeting with the principals and the staff as part of the board, not as a lone ranger. And going to the events that the schools have as well, because that is just to see what is happening. When there are parent concerns and questions, I would refer them back to their school first. I'm going to hear and listen, but there is kind of a chain of command, and depending on what the problem is, please speak to your principal first. Your principal has to hear first. Let me know if that doesn't work, because there are pathways that parents have to take. And then I would want to let the cabinet know if there's an issue that I hear about. But I don't want to leave out the schools from these problems, because that doesn't help anybody make any changes. And because what I hear is one thing, but what the parent and the admin need to talk about, or maybe it's a teacher issue, they have to discuss with each other first. Now, it all depends on what the issue is as well. There can be, changes to that as well. But in general, I would refer them back to their school to work through that way.
Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. And let's digress for just a minute, but not really, because we're talking about Prop 15, and it is the hot button issue on the November 3rd ballot. Teacher and public employee unions have backed the measure because of the some $10 to $12 billion in extra property tax revenue a year that would flow to schools and governments when business properties get reassessed more aggressively should 15 pass. But opponents they've made a good case that Prop 15 comes along at a time when it would devastate local business owners and hits consumers in the pocketbook at the worst possible time ever. So where do you stand on Prop 15, candidates, and why? And Linda Menges, let's begin with you.
So unfortunately, I think we need Prop 15. Our funding is so bad. They have made some concessions where the small mom and pop type of businesses can be exempt from that so that it would keep them from going under. I think that some of the larger corporations can afford to have their taxes raised to help support the schools. They want to hire good employees. The employees want to come into a district that has good property values and has a good school system for their students when they move to the area.
Kate Videra, go ahead, please, on Prop 15.
It's a tough one, right? I don't know any corporation, unless maybe you're a plexiglass corporation that is not hurting, or hand sanitizer corporation that's not in trouble right now. That's a tough question, but from the school standpoint, we need every dollar that we can get. So I see it from that side, but I also don't want to drive out any business that's going to be adversely harmed from this. And so it's that balancing act. And I want to be sure that, are we going to even get that money ourselves here in Las Virgenes schools? Because so far, it's like the lottery money. Where did that go, right? So I'm always skeptical that when we get taxed, is it going to come to us? Okay. And that's why things like our bond issues, where we know they stay local, are really important. And that's that crazy way that the schools in this state are funded, that is so confusing to figure out. And I grew up in New York State, and you paid your state tax, your school tax, sorry, and that went to your local schools. There was no doubt about it. It didn't go anywhere else. And we have a very different system here, and it's going to be incredibly impossible maybe to ever change that.
Only Prop 15 helping schools, but hurting small businesses and consumers. Where do you stand, please?
Yeah, I like Kate said, there's no easy answer for this one. I think this, they have been undertaxed for some time now. Unfortunately, this is the time where during a pandemic where that's now being called to task, and that that's a problem. It would be nice if this could be tabled until after, but this is a referendum on the ballot. It's a proposition on the ballot, so it must. We need the money. We need the money here. From a school board standpoint, I say we need the funds, but I also want to make sure the funds will actually arrive here. From the other side, I feel for my friends who are business owners and commercial building owners who will be taxed under this, and they're not doing well. So it's really tough, but I will say, as a board member, we need the funds. It would have been nice if Measure V did pass. Not a clear answer, but that's what I got for you.
Thank you, Ken.
Next, we're going to talk about the special ed students that came back to campus on October 1st. They were the first cohorts on campus since March. And Kate, we're going to start with you. What do you think is the greatest challenge currently facing our school district in the area of special education? What needs are not currently being met?
Okay, great question. So I think always we need more funding for our students of any variety. I think in our special ed group, we need more services and more identification of kids who are neurodiverse, okay? That from the outside, they look like everybody else, but their brains work a little differently. And we've known about this in pediatrics for a long time, and it's a challenge, I think, for educators, right? To see that and to identify what it is. And I would like to see a more robust identification and screening of diagnosis of those kids within our school, because I think there's a large subset of those kids that needs to be addressed. And I know it's been a problem in this area, but overall, I think we do a pretty good job with our special ed kids.
Okay, thank you. How about you, Kiyomi? What do you think is the greatest challenge facing special ed kids? And what needs are not currently being met?
I'm sorry, we were cutting out.
Oh, I'm sorry. What do you think is the greatest challenge currently facing our school district in the area of special education? And what needs do you think are not currently being met?
Yeah, I think I've been speaking to teachers of all types, including special education teachers. And I think we have some really great professionals in this field. I think what I'm hearing from parents, though, is the lack of personalization, like the lack of personalized service for their kids, and that the IEP process, and this is not specific to LVUSD, but the IEP process is a very litigious process, and we waste money through that process because you bring your lawyers and that everything ratchets up. If there is if there is a way for us to avoid the litigiousness of the process that makes this process so expensive, and funnel those funds instead to the personalized service, I think our kids will win, and our community will win. I would just like to see it be less of a litigious process.
Okay, thank you. Linda, how do you feel about special education right now and the current needs?
So right now, it's been very difficult. It's almost impossible to hold the IEP meetings and to test your students just because we've had to be in a distance learning mode. And I think that our special ed students are, by law, should have a free and appropriate public education. And we are losing funds for, we have students that for whatever reason might need to be in a care facility to receive that free and appropriate public education. And the funding for that has even gone away for housing for those students. And I think that it was terrific that we were able to bring back our students that needed occupational therapy or speech therapy, so that they could start receiving some of that in-person education first. And the IEP process it's difficult for parents to be in those meetings, and difficult for teachers to be out of their classroom when we're in a normal environment. So those are all the different problems that I see with the special education.
Thank you.
All right, Candace, we've hit on finances a couple of times tonight through talking about cutting the budget and where you stand on Prop 15. Let me come at you from a little bit different angle here. Community financial appeals historically worked out pretty well for the school district. The question is, what ideas do you have to generate more off-the-grid income for our schools, especially in this time of digital-only capabilities? So the question is, what ideas do you have to generate more income in this very difficult time? Let's begin with you, Kiyomi.
I think we have to really examine why Measure V failed. And what I'm hearing in the community is that some of our community members, and a significant portion, enough for it to tank, was that we don't engage them regularly and meaningfully in our processes. So the next time there's a bond effort, I think we're going to have to lay some groundwork with our communities and engage them meaningfully in our in the way we spend funds and the way we allocate funds within the district. Off the grid income. Look, I'm a proponent of a more centralized funding model, and I think that it will give us access to bigger businesses who would be interested in donating large sums of money to a school district, like not district itself, but an org that supports the school district. I think we'll find that we get more money and that we are more equitably distributing those funds across our campuses. So every child gets the best of everything. Yeah, this is a hard time because those businesses, again, are having a tough time right now, but we're gonna have to be creative about how we make up our funding losses.
The question to you, Linda, how do you think outside the box in terms of financial appeal and more income for the schools, and especially in this digital only environment? Go ahead.
So some of the things that we have done, some of it is grant funding that we've applied for. We've been made aware of certain grants and applied for them, and that will help special programs and special initiatives. Some of it is, as I mentioned before, saving money for like the PE specialist at the elementary level by having YouTube type videos and that can be shared as a resource across all campuses. Some of it is media centers on our campuses and how you can digitally reserve books, and some of it is also like we have Center edX, which does bring some money into our district by teachers wanting to get their administrative credential that are not teachers in our district, and so we can raise some funds that way, and developing a more centralized fundraising through the foundation and getting businesses to be business partners in our district. We have a wonderful relationship with the water district, and they have different resources that they work with our students in the 4-5 science and have programs for them. And they are working with us on a career technical education committee where we're trying to create pathways for people that are maybe not college bound that might want to have some sort of technical work. And we're working with people from the hospitals that are in the medical industry where there's lab technicians and that sort of thing. So unique different ways of trying to raise funds or opportunities for our students.
And Kate, finally, the question to you.
Okay. So during these past 14 years in LVUSD, I've been a donor drive chairperson or a VP of fundraising 4 years. And each year we've built upon what we've done in the past because we have an incredibly generous community and our parents are very vested in our schools. And the PFCs do an amazing job raising those funds. And I think that, we do need to look outside ourselves a little bit and, knowing about, this would be a great time for our education foundation to take off. Our other high performing districts in our area, like Manhattan Beach, Palos Verdes, La Cañada, they have had an ed foundation since the 80s, okay, when Prop 13 came around, and that acts as a buffer. And you can do online, raise the paddle, okay? These groups have intense pride in their schools, and when you do this type of centralized fundraising, you raise everybody up. You don't bring everybody down to some new low or some medium. We bring everybody up. We're all competing for sponsorships. Who's going to get this car dealer, for the booster club, or who's going to get a banner. We need to kind of work together, even at one school site. Booster clubs for sports and music and theater, cheer, all of that. It's a huge amount of money that needs to be raised. And we can do that maybe a little bit more efficiently through an ed foundation. And I know that our corporations in our area want to be partners with us because they're vested in this community too. They live here, their kids go to school here, and that's something else that can be, worked on. And Measure V lost by it was 54% and we needed 55. So it was so close, 100 votes difference. And falling on the heels of the Woolsey fire, when people lost their homes, we're not very happy with how that all went down. It was a really hard time to bring something like that out.
Candidates, you've all done so well. We've got the audience clamoring for an encore. So we have one final question before we wrap up tonight. Stephanie, question 14, please.
Okay, Linda, we're going to start with you, and we're going to end on a positive note. We just want to hear about 2 or 3, maybe a few more good things and positive things you see about the school district right now. What makes our school district special, and why are you proud of it?
I'm very proud of our school district. I think that we've had great strides with Community360.me. We've brought in excellent guest speakers to speak to issues, how to raise an adult with Julie Lithcott-Haynes. She's coming again December 8th to talk about what it was like growing up a Black woman in America. We have the IB program at Agoura High School. We have the AP Capstone program at Calabasas High School. We have amazing music programs, the wonderful performing arts centers, arts and education centers at both of the high schools. We have fantastic teachers, and we've got a dynamic cabinet and great resources, all working towards making our students as positive, as high achieving as they possibly can be.
Thank you. Kate, what do you love about LVUSD?
Well, if I didn't love this district, I wouldn't be doing this, right? You know, there are lots of things to be proud of. And one of the great things about being on this campaign is speaking to members of the community and how much pride they have in these schools. You know, former city councilmen, former board members, school board members, someone in my own neighborhood here who was part of the committee that brought Bell Canyon and this part of West Hills into Las Virgenes district in the 80s. So, I mean, there's a huge history here. You know, you find out how much these schools mean to the kids when they can't go. My daughter was the class of 2020. And, you know, for the first couple of weeks, she's like, oh, this is all right. I don't have to go into school. And soon that was not the case at all. She missed her teachers when they showed up back at school to pick up their yard signs or for the graduation, cap and gown. They were devastated because they missed their friends and they missed their teachers. They wanted to show their teachers where they got into college. And so that's where you see how much it means to them. When you go through even just like a RACI and a registration at the high school, and you're part of that process where you go from an empty campus to bringing 2,000 kids onto that campus and it comes to life, you realize we're doing a pretty good job here. And when you get to attend a high school graduation and the kids are so excited, not because, you know, they're out of here, which is part of it, but also because they're with their friends and they're joyous and you're with your friends sitting and watching. And that's when you know that this is a really good place and a lot to be proud of.
Okay, thank you. Kiyomi, what makes you proud?
Yeah, the kids. I would have no campaign without these students. I have a student who lives in Agoura Hills who drafted and put together my logo. I have kids running my social media campaign. I have kids knocking doors, we cannot, but flyer dropping for me. The kids are incredible. Our output is solid around here. Our teachers, I think we have really great talent around here. I also have a lot of love for the 360 program. You know, I talk about where we are deficient because I want to fill in those gaps, but the 360 program actually has all of the infrastructure we need to shore up those deficiencies. And so and with that, I will say also 360 program / the administrators that we have in this school district, we have everything in place to continue to be the best. And I want to continue to support that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Candidates,
Okay,
that includes the Q&A, and great job, but let's move on to our final part of the evening. And Stephanie, do you want to get us rolling on the
Yes.
final comment?
Yes, we're
Closing
going to have
comment.
closing statements, and we're going to do it in alphabetical order again. So Kiyomi, you are first with a closing statement.
1 minute.
All right, I was close
1 minute,
with
sorry.
it. Oh, hi. Yeah, hi, I'm Kiyomi. You've met me, you've heard from me tonight, and I would love to earn your vote. This is a historic campaign. They have never elected a person of color to be on the school board, and it's not just about putting a person of color. It is about a person who has the background that I have in anti-racism education, and as an advocate, I bring all of that to the table. I have been endorsed by a lot of our community members, the Las Virgenes Educators Association, Senator Henry Stern, Assemblymember Jesse Gabriel, Assemblymember Richard Bloom, Calabasas Park HOA, all of the mayors across all of our cities, most of the city council members, and a lot of your neighbors. I think that we can make history here. And I think that we, with a new voice, with a truly fresh perspective on the school board, we can do things. Thank you.
Thank you. Linda.
So my kids grew up in this district. They all had very different personalities, yet they received an excellent education through Las Virgenes and were well prepared for college and career after high school. I'm an experienced leader, calm in a crisis, a deep thinker, and a hard worker. And all of those are assets that are needed in these unprecedented times. We're a destination district, and I intend to keep us a destination district. Other districts look to us to see what we're doing, especially during the Woolsey fire, and then now during distance learning. I have a website, lindamenges.com, and a Facebook page, Linda Menges, the number 4 Lvusd School Board. I am endorsed by city council members in all 4 of our cities, and I would be honored to have your vote. Please feel free to look at my website and see. I'm also endorsed by the Las Virgenes Educators Association.
Thank you very much. Kate, final words.
Thank you for having me here this evening. I really appreciate the chance to come and speak with you and share a little bit about myself. I believe in this community and this school district. Remember, you have 2 votes for school board, and I would be honored to have one of them. You can visit my website, katefedera.com, to learn more about me and my endorsements. We're in the midst of a public health crisis, a pandemic, and it's not going away soon. And we're in a crisis in education. I'm the only candidate with a medical degree who can help guide our district. My pediatric knowledge is very much needed now more than ever. We will face many challenges moving forward, and we need leaders who will work together to help guide the district. My ability to anticipate problems and take action is an important skill that I will bring to the board. My understanding of child development and social emotional needs of children will be a great asset. I've been the voice of the unheard and the overlooked, and I will continue to do that. We need great leaders who are proactive and engaged, and I'm ready to be that person, and vote for Dr. Kate.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you, candidates all. We do appreciate it. That brings to a close this 2020 Candidates Forum. It's been a lot of fun. It's been informative, educational, and I do think our Las Virgenes community is a lot better served and much more informed about the direction they want to take as voters on November 3rd. Thanks to hearing your voices tonight. Thanks also to our partner on this venture, the City of Calabasas and CTV channel, Marvin Petros and Tony Yen. Good job, guys. Not one Wi-Fi glitch tonight. That's a good omen for 2020. Yes, congratulations. No freeze-ups. Reminder that a link to this recorded version can be seen on the cityofcalabasas.com website. On the main page, you'll have a link if you want to watch a recorded version. And you can also click for more information about all these excellent candidates, www.theacorn.com. Theacorn.com, we've got an election 2020 link you can hit on the main page, and that takes you to each of these candidates' individual bios and information, and you can learn more there. And lastly, don't forget to vote November 3rd. It is the most critical election of a lifetime, and get out and make your voice heard. So for my co-moderator, Stephanie Bertholdo, I'm John Losing. Thanks for watching, and good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.